G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildcard. Thank you for being here and watching my content, and as always, it is my pleasure and the absolute privilege to entertain you here on YouTube. You are here today because it's Tuesday and it's time to read some rugby news. First up, there has been three big team announcements over the week. That is, the Springboks have announced a 41-man training squad for the Rugby Championship and the Rugby World Cup, whilst England has announced a 28-man squad for the Rugby World Cup training camp, and Fiji have announced a 45-man strong Rugby World Cup training squad. Just remember, it's not about the size, it's how you use it, okay? So yes, keep that in mind while we go through the players that have been selected. First up, let's look at the Springboks. There are a few big names that's been missed out. I'm just going to talk about some of the names that I kind of like recognize. So Ivan Van Zyl, I'm not really familiar with him. He has been left out of squad. Obviously, Springbok has been very stacked with talent. Elton Yanchis is someone that's some of you guys has been talking about him in a couple videos ago. Why he has left out of the Springbok squad. Obviously, his performance for the Springboks last year was pretty horrendous. Especially that game against Wales in July. It's been almost a year now that he has been left out of the Springbok squad. And obviously, he had that affair with the dietitian. The girl Zajid, or whatever her name was, he had that that affair brought a lot of negative media towards the team, a lot of distractions. So yeah, he has been let go for almost a year now, and it's kind of like the Springboks has moved on with the 5A position, bringing in Mane Lobok and having Damien Valemsa, give him more time at the 10 jersey as well. So they've really moved on from him, from having him in the squad in the first place. Warrior Gelant had a little bit of a time with the Springboks last year. I think he had one game, maybe 2 games last year in the November Test series. I just left it out. Alray Lowe, another guy, had a very little time with Springboks last year in the season as well. So he left out. Marcel Coetzee, I think he was in the squad last year, but he was not. I don't think he played any games with Springbok last year. I'm not 100% sure. He's also missed out. Now this guy. Let me try to pronounce his name. Is it Hat? It's Hat Java Dayamani. Hat Java Dayamani. Another guy misses out of the team. I'm not really familiar with him. He's competing for the loose forward position, which is very, very stacked for the Springboks. Francois Steyn, my hero, he's left out due to an ongoing knee injury. Now let's look at the players that's been selected. First, I want to talk about the highlight of the player here, Jean Klein. He played for Ireland in 2019 Rugby World Cup, and he hasn't been selected for the Ireland team for over 4 years. And due to the new eligibility selection criteria, he's eligible to play for his country of origin, as many Islander players are playing. Former All Blacks and Wallaby players like Israel Folau going to play for Tonga. So yeah, Jean Klein is going to be playing. He's selected for the squad for the very surprisingly for the Springboks. So let's start with the props. Thomas du Toit, someone with huge legs. Apparently, he has the biggest legs in South African rugby. And his maybe is that true? Let me know. Selected as a prop. Stephen Kitsoff, Vincent Koch, Franz Malherbe, Ox Nche, and Trevor Nyakani gets the propping positions. Hooker, Joseph Dweeba, Malcolm Marks, Bongim Banabi, Locks, Lutiacha, Eben Ezebeth, Marvin Ordi, RG Snyman. He's been injured for so long, and he came back like 2 games for Munster, and he immediately gets brought into the Springboks. I mean, he did win the championship with Munster, despite being injured for most of the season for a couple of years now. He's immediately brought into the Springbok team. Jean Klein, loose forwards, Peter Step du Toit, Sia Khaleesi, he's still injured, so he had a knee surgery, so he's still like racing back to potentially play for the Rugby World Cup, but he's looking very tight schedule. He might just be there for emotional support. Evan Ross, Huaga Smith, Marco van Staden, Dwayne, the Rock Vermeulen, Jasper Visa, loose forwards, Jean-Luc Dupreez, Dion Fourie, Franco Mostert. They're all just, a bunch of locks / loose forwards. Scrum halves, Faf de Klerk, Jaden Hendricks, Herschel Yanchis, Kobus Reinach, and Grant Williams. Fly halves, Manny Lobok, Hundred Pollard, and Damien Willemse, the greatest Springboks ever. Okay. Center Lukamio Damien Dialendi, Andre Esterhuizen, Jesse Creel. Outside backs Curdy Adensa, Cheslin Kolbe, Vili LaRue, Makuzula Mapimpi, and Kanan Moody. That's the Springboks training camp for the Rugby World Cup slash the Rugby Championship. Now let's have a look at England club. First off, one guy has already pulled out of the England training camp. Sam Simmons. Again, he's been huge for the England in the Six Nations, and he has been, you know, there was a lot of criticism for Eddie Jones for not selecting him, and and he has been. There's a lot of media pressure to have him selected for England under Eddie Jones, and he then finally got kind of like a consistent going with Borthwick, and now he's decided to pull out. Yeah, what's going on in England camp? Nobody knows, but he has decided to withdraw from the England team from the Rugby World Cup, and the reason being given is that he wants to spend some time to settle in his new French club at Montpellier. Yeah, he decides to prioritize his club over an opportunity at the Rugby World Cup. Yeah, so something is wrong with England management. There was a discussion between him and the management that they have estimated that's the best for him. Yeah, really weird. Anyway, so yeah, some of the England. This goes to some of the players from the England squad: Henry Allendale, Danny Kerr, Joe Thokonasenga, huge winger. Yeah, he's actually quite good. Ollie Hazel Collins. I don't know who that. Will Joseph? What's W? Will Joseph. Ollie Lawrence, Joe Merchant, Johnny Gray. I don't know who this guy is. C. Murley, Henry Randall. Is it Henry or Harry? Henry Slade, Marcus Smith, Ben Spencer. Ben Spencer. Forwards, Jemmy Blamier, Alex Dombrand, T. Darden on this guy, Charlie Ewells, Ellis Genge. It's Tom Hill? I actually don't know this guy. Joe Mala, Zach Mercer, I think. B. Obano, I definitely don't know this guy. Pearson, I know Pearson, I can't remember his first name. V. Raparuskin, I don't know this guy either. Kyle Sinclair, Will Stewart, Sam Underhill, and I think he's Jack Walker, I think. Jack Walker. So these are the training squad for the English camp. Now let's go to the let's go through this one. Let's go to the final team squad, the Fijian ones, and watch me struggle with their names for the 45-man Fijian team. So yeah, first up in the Fijian forwards, Penny Ravai, Hareti Hetet, Ironi Maui, Meli Tuni, the hooker position, Samuela Matavesi, Tavita Ikanivere, Zuriel Tugiatama, and Musulame Dolokoto. These are the hookers. In the tight head position, Misake Doge, I think it's Doggy. I think it's pronounced Doggy. So one of you guys were telling me how to pronounce Dogi. I think it's Dogi. Luke Tangi, Samu Tavake, Joan Koroi Dua. Second row position, Isoa Nasila Apisa Lome Ratuniya Rava, Timo Mayana Vanua. Utility forwards, Albert Tuisue, Peseli Yato, Lekima Tagita Givalu, Joseva Tamani, Te Ahiwaru Siri Kitaveta. Back rowers, we have Levani Botia, William Mata, Meli Dere Derenani, Dereragi, Vidie, Mira, Kition, Kamika. And then the scrum halves, we got Frank Lamani. One guy I can pronounce probably, I guess. Simeon Kurovoli, Penny Matavalu. Fly halves, we got Teddy Teller, Caleb Muntz, Ben Volavola. Inside center, Joshua Tuisova, Kala Veti Rovovo, Andrea, I think this is pronounced Thokagi. Outside centers, we got Waisia Naya Savelu, Isefo Masi, Seta Tamani Valu. Back three, we've got Vinaya Hambosi, Juta Nicolo. We've got Celestino Ravutamandra. We got Isaiah Doresese. We've got Setareki Thovu. Utility backs, we've got Semi Radradra, and we got Serere Bobo. Just kidding, Serere Makara. And then we've got Vilimoni Botiu. So that's the Fijian 45-man squad. Sorry for butchering all the names. So yeah, let's move on to some signings now for the Springboks. So Springboks has signed the Alfiva Dianti, whatever his name is. So they re-signed this guy after he's been banned for doping and been suspended for 4 years. So he's back with the Sharks. And then we've got in the Wales squad, one more player has pulled out of the Wales training squad. Corey Hill has withdrawn from the World Cup training squad. And another player pulls out the Wales through after, Alan Wynne-Jones, Jackson Tipperix, Reece Webb has all pulled out. Reece Kerr was dropped from the squad for not being, physically fit enough to participate, essentially. So Corey Hill is leaving the ship as well. So yeah, everybody's just leaving, abandoning the ship on the Wales Rugby World Cup, which is not looking good. Also on the weekend, this was the last game for Mornay Stain for the Bulls at in South Africa. The legend, the guy who won two Lions tours for the Springboks, and he's out. Despite him, this was his last game. The Cheetahs was able to beat the Bulls 31 points to 27. Tony. Oh yeah, so there was a bit of obviously the English Premiership has been going through a lot of financial issues. So we saw the London Irish last week going under. So there was a lot of rumors came out last week that the Chiefs, the Exeter Chiefs has been there's some financial issues with the team. The owner came out and basically stamped out the allegations. He had basically saying that's not the case, despite there was some red flags coming out with regards to Exeter Chiefs. So obviously last week there was a new CEO being appointed at Rugby Australia. That is Phil Waugh. Immediately he has been talking about how he wants to, improve Super Rugby. And one of the things that was talked about, I thought was a really good idea as well, is the draft. That is allowing at the moment, basically, if you want to play for the All Blacks, you're going to stay in New Zealand, play for one of the New Zealand teams to qualify. Same goes for the Wallabies. So what Phil Waugh kind of wanted to do is to expand the selection pools with all the players across all the teams. So he basically wants a draft system where all the teams in Super Rugby are given equal opportunity and the talents to make the game more competitive, essentially. And nowadays, the New Zealand teams are way stronger than Australian teams, and basically they have more, just having more talent. So they want the access of talent is shared across the board. So yeah, they wanted to open that up to kind of which is something that I think is really good. That's something that I've been talked about on this channel as well, to allow players to travel to, allow say Bolden Barrett to play in Australia, and still qualify to play for the All Blacks later on in the season, just to even out the competition to make the Super Rugby a better product. Obviously, they need to look at how there should be some restrictions. Obviously, you don't want a player to be like, because a lot of players can play for both nations, right? If we've seen like, the Terrell Lomax and Ethan de Groot, both born in Australia, plays for New Zealand. Now, obviously, in Australia, we've got Noah Lolesio, who was born in New Zealand. We've had players like Quade Cooper was born in New Zealand. A lot of Australian players were born in New Zealand. So you don't want players to come out of whether it's a New Zealand system or Australian system to immediately go play for the All Blacks or the Wallabies, having never played in the opposite country, right? So there needs to be a little bit of restriction. Like you can only move to a different country and still available. For example, you have to debut for the country first before you can move over to the other side of the Tasman, right? So Beauden Barrett, for example, Beauden Barrett, he has to play for the All Blacks first, and then he can come to Australia to play for for the Waratahs if you wish. So that needs to be a rule. So you can't just have Joseph Swali'i signed to Rugby Australia and then immediately go play for the All Blacks. After only play for the Waratahs, right? So that needs to be a little bit of restriction on that. But once they debut for the country, I feel like they should just go anywhere they can within the Super Rugby, and they should still be eligible for the national selections. That'll be really good idea. I feel obviously the Reds lost on the weekend to the Chiefs, and that will be the last game for the head coach Brad Thorne. He's wanting to take a break, and Brad Thorne has stepped down as the head coach. He said essentially as the Reds head coach. Next up, we've got the Crusaders update for Sam Whitelock. He's got an aggravated Achilles injury, so it's looking like he might not be able to play any of the Super Rugby finals. It's a bit disappointing because Sam Whitelock is a legend. He's going overseas, so this will be the last outing for him. So maybe he will come on, I don't know, maybe in the finals or something on the bench. If he was really hurt, they might just bring him off the bench and see how that goes. But yeah, it's looking like he might be done with the Crusaders without a proper send-off. He was injured, and it was expected for him to come back in one of the final matches, but at the moment, it's not looking good. Brent Gatlin has decided to sign with the Japan club Kobe Steelers, so he is going to be leaving for overseas as well from New Zealand. And then so obviously we talked about last week that the London Irish went under, and one of the big names for the Wallabies is Adam Coleman. I don't even think he's that big of a name, to be honest. Adam Coleman has been souped up by a top 14 side in France, in Bordeaux, and apparently he was earning £900,000 a year, so that's like 1.5 million Australian. That's almost as much as Swali'i, right? Depends on the exchange rate. He might be more than Swali'i if it was if the Australian economy was a bit worse, during Christmas periods or something. But £900,000 for Adam Coleman is quite a lot of money. James Slipper has signed an extension with Rugby Australia to 2025. He's on track to be the most capped Australian player ever. So yeah, congrats to Slips. Luka Lalakai Lotto has re-signed with the Rebels. He went overseas to play for one of the English teams, might be for Bath or something. I think it was Northampton Saints. He went to play for Northampton Saints, and then he wasn't really enjoying his time overseas. Wasn't able to adapt to the culture. I guess he's now back to Australia, and then he's signed with the Chokers, Melbourne Rebels. Yeah, I don't know why. Anyway, so apparently Tupou is going to the Rebels as well, and Alex Murphy. Yeah, so apparently Tupou is going to Rebels. That's big news for me. I literally just read through it just then. But anyway, Cheslin Kolbe, after being agreed to leave his French club, has found a new home in Japan, as kind of like expected last week. He's signed with Suntory Sunglythe in Japanese club. Finally, the midfielder Lalakai Fuketi has signed with Australian Rugby to 2025, and the final bit of news this week is that the Rugby World Cup will have a 30-man judiciary team that will be that's basically the citing committee for anything that happens in the game. So the name of the team. So basically, how this works, just goes through some of the details on how this works. So basically, the citing committee, the judiciary team will be a three-person team. Will be obviously 3-person from country that are not involved in the match. And basically, there will be a citing commission as well for each of the tournament, each match of the tournament, and then basically the citing commission will review all the footage available in the game, and then there will be the window will be open for 36 hours after the match to cite anything that's potentially could lead to a suspension for a player. So the team can make referrals for any sort of incidents that happen in the game within 12 hours, but only the citing commission can cite somebody. So they can refer, but it's up to the citing commission to cite a player after reviewing the evidence. And then there will be a disciplinary hearing within 48 hours after the match to see whether the player will be, after being cited, there will be 48 hours for the hearing, and then there will be 48 hours for the team to appeal for the hearing as well. So you can go through the names here, but yeah, it is basically how it works for the judiciary system for the Rugby World Cup. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts. Have I butchered everybody's name in the team announcement? So if I have, my apologies, but thank you for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys this weekend for, most importantly, the All Blacks team announcement, coming up in about a few days, and then we've got the Super Rugby semi-final review. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you guys later this week. Cheers.